The next story then takes place about 5 or 6 years later. Now I'm a teenager, and I've been selected to go to Boys State. Do they have that here in New York? Or you know what Boys State and Girls State is? It's they pick 2 kids from every high school in the state. Most states have this, and they send you to the state capitol where you play government for a week in the summer, and you elect the governor, lieutenant governor, you know, all this. And so I decided when I got there, because I'd been picked by my high school, that I didn't like it one single bit. I didn't want to run for anything. I didn't like politicians. I didn't want to be one. And they put you in these dorm rooms at Michigan State University, and so I stayed in my dorm room the whole week. And I only left to go down to the snack machine, which had this new potato chip that had just been invented called Ruffles. And I was just so taken with these chips because of the ridges in them. I thought I was getting more chip per chip, you know. So I love these things, and the only time I would leave the room was to go down and get my Ruffles potato chips. So one day I go down to get the chips, and on the bulletin board above the snack machine there's a poster, and it says this: Boys Staters, speech contest on the life of Abraham Lincoln. Write a speech on the life of Abe Lincoln and win a prize. Contest sponsored by the Elks Club. I stood and stared at this flyer for some time. I forgot about my Ruffles. I just couldn't get over what I was reading. Because the previous month, my dad had gone to the local Elks Club to join. And when he did, he found himself disappointed. They handed him an application, and at the top of the application it read, Caucasians only. This is 1971. This is the 1970s. Discrimination, racial discrimination, private clubs and organizations was still allowed. Being a Caucasian, this should not have been a problem for Frank Moore, my dad. Being a man of some conscience, though, it gave him pause. He brought the form home and showed it to me. What do you think about this? He asked me. I read the Caucasian line and had 2 thoughts. Do we live down south now? I mean, how much more north can you get than Michigan? And isn't this illegal? My dad was clearly confused about the situation. Well, I don't think I can sign this piece of paper, he said. No, you can't, I said. My dad had a very strong sense of what was right and wrong. He worked in the General Motors factories, which thanks to the UAW, the union, the factories by the end of the 1940s were already integrated as one of the union demands. And so he worked alongside men and women of all races. And as is the outcome of such social engineering, he grew to see all people as the same, or at least the same, all the same in God's eyes. Now here I was standing in front of this poster saying that the Elks Club was sponsoring a contest on the life of the great emancipator. And I'm 17 years old. Now what do you do with that? I thought to myself, they want a speech? I'll give them a speech. I forgot about the Ruffles and went back to my room and scribbled out this speech. How dare the Elks Club besmirch the fine name of Abraham Lincoln by sponsoring a contest like this? I thought I'd begin with some subtlety. Save the good stuff for later. Have they no shame? How is it that an organization that will not allow black people into their club is part of Boys State, spreading their bigotry under the guise of doing something good? What kind of example is being set for the youth here? Who even allowed them in here? If Boys State is to endorse any form of segregation, then by all means, let it be the segregation that separates these racists from the rest of us who believe in the American way. The next morning I showed up for the speech contest. There were about a dozen other boys in the room, and they all gave their speeches lauding the accomplishments of Lincoln and talking about the Civil War, type of speech you'd hear at a 4th of July picnic. Sweet, simple, non-controversial. Few in the room were prepared for the barrage of insults about to be hurled at the Elks Club. Take William Jennings Bryan, add some Jimmy Stewart, and throw in a healthy dose of Don Rickles, and that's pretty much what they were about to get from me. I thought there would be Elks in the room, but instead the judge of the contest was a speech teacher from a local high school. As I gave the speech, I kept my eye on him, and nothing moved on his face. Some of the boys in the room started snickering. A couple looked upset. The lone black kid in the room, he was trying to cover the smile on his face. When the speech was over, the teacher/judge went to the head of the room and said, "Thank you all for your well-written speeches. The winner of this year's Elks Club Boys State Speech Contest is Michael Moore." Congratulations, Michael. He then proceeds to tell me that I have to give the speech tomorrow at the closing ceremonies of Boys State in front of 2,000 other boys. No, I don't want to do that. You don't really want me to give that speech? Oh, yes, I do. You have to give it. That's the rule. He also told me for my own good he wasn't going to mention the content of the speech to anyone before tomorrow. Oh yes, I thought, that's much better. Let them be hit with it fresh, like a big surprise. The kind of which has the speaker being chased from the great hall, his prize in one hand, his life in the other. The next day, I said my final prayers and went into the great hall. Thousands of Boys Staters were there. I was brought up on the stage. I passed the governor of Michigan, the lieutenant governor, some other bigwigs, and then there was a man with a hat, and there were antlers on the hat. It was not Bullwinkle, and this was not Halloween. This man was the chief elk, the head of all elks, and he held in his lap the Elks Club Boys State Speech Trophy. He had a big, wide smile, a smile more appropriate for a Kiwanis or a Rotarian, with more teeth than I thought humanly possible, and he was so proud to see me take the podium. Oh man, I thought, this guy is about to have a very bad day. I hope they did a pat down. I took a deep breath and began the speech. How dare the Elks Club! Oh. I gave the speech as I had written it. I finished with my plea that the Elks change their ways. And as I turned my head to see the crimson tide that was now the face of the chief elk, his teeth resembling two chainsaws ready to shred my sorry self, I blurted out, "And you can keep your stinking trophy!" The place went insane. 2,000 boys leapt to their feet, whooping and hollering and cheering me on. I tried to make a dash off the stage, but was stopped by a reporter from the Associated Press. He introduced himself to me and said he was astonished at what he had just heard and seen, and he was going to write something about it, and who was I, and where was I from? I broke away and headed quickly out the side door. Keeping my head down, I avoided the main campus path and made it back to my dorm room and locked the door. About an hour later, there was a knock. "Hey," the anonymous voice barked, "there's a call for you." The dorm rooms, you see, had no phones. There was a phone down at the end of the hallway, a payphone. I made the long walk down to the payphone. I needed ruffles, that's for sure. And the phone was by the snack machine, so it made the walk necessary. I picked up the phone. "Hello?" I answered nervously, wondering who would even know that I was here. "Hello, is this Michael Moore?" the voice on the line asked. "Yes." I'm a producer here in New York at the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. We've got this story that just came in over the wire about what you did today, and we'd like to send a crew over to an interview for tonight's newscast. Huh? We're doing a story on your speech exposing the Elks Club and their racial policies. We want you to come on TV. Come on TV? There wasn't enough Clearasil in the world to get me to do that. No thank you, I have to get back to my room now, bye! And I hung up the phone. I did not go on TV that night, but at some point it went on TV. And today in Lansing, Michigan, a 17-year-old boy gave a speech that took on the Elks Club and their segregationist practices, shedding light on the fact that it is still legal for private clubs in this country to discriminate on the basis of race. The next day, the dorm phone rang off the hook. Everybody, again, another Associated Press reporter, 2 TV networks, the NAACP, a paper in New York, another in Chicago. Unless it involved them offering me free food or an introduction to a girl I might like, I did not want to be bothered. I took none of the calls. My parents were waiting outside in the car to take me back home. This much I'll say, my parents were not unhappy with my actions. When I got home, the phone continued to ring. Finally, a call from the office of Michigan Senator Phil Hart. He wanted to talk to me about coming to Washington. The aide said it was something about a bill that would be introduced, a bill to outlaw discrimination by private entities. A congressman would be calling me to testify in front of a congressional committee. Would I be willing to do that? No! Why were they bothering me? Hadn't I done enough? I didn't mean to cause such a ruckus. I thanked him and I said I'd discuss it with my parents, though I never told them. I went outside to mow the lawn. The following year was not a good one for the Elks Club of America. Many states denied their liquor licenses, the unkindest cut of all. Grants and funds became scarce. Various bills in Congress to stop them and other private clubs were debated. And then the federal courts in D.C. dealt them a death blow by taking away their tax-exempt status. Facing total collapse and the scorn of the majority of the nation, the Elks Club voted to drop their Caucasians-only policy. Other private clubs followed suit. The ripple effect of this was that now racial discrimination everywhere in America, be it public or private, was prohibited. My speech was occasionally cited as a spark for this march forward in the racial fixing of the great American experiment, but there were other speeches far more eloquent than mine. Most important for me, I learned a valuable lesson at the age of 17, that change can occur, and it can occur anywhere, with even the simplest of people and the craziest of intentions. And that creating change didn't always have to require devoting your every waking hour to it, with mass meetings and organizations and protests and TV appearances with Walter Cronkite. Sometimes change can occur because all you wanted was a bag of potato chips.